I don't teach this class, but I was recruited to teach a few lectures because another professor on sabbatical. Some of you know me. I don't know where. Is one of my students. Another one. A couple of you guys know me. I actually. Has anyone had a class with me ever? Probably no one. So I normally teach graduate level genetics, and I used to do graduate cell biology, although a very different type of cell biology that I'll try to instruct you guys on today. As I said, I normally don't teach this class. I have taught the entire course of Bio 203 before, which is molecular genetics. I think everyone here had 203, so I used to teach that, and that was entertaining for me. I used to just tell you a little bit about me before we start. You know, I'm a big believer that students learn by practicing. So when I finally got to teach 203, all of it, I decided to really make the students practice. So I gave homeworks every week that was turned in the lab, and I gave quiz. I think it was every other lecture just like this, so 13 quizzes, and the students found it tiring, I think, complained a little bit. But you know, I learned very quickly when I first taught Bio 302, which is before your time, that, you know, I know you won't want to believe this, but I gave 5 5-point quizzes in that class, and one final for 125 points. And when I did the analysis, I found that the correlation between the addition of the 5 5-point quizzes was nearly identical to the 125-point test. I thought, well, this is a waste of everyone's time, because if I already can tell your grade after 5 5-point quizzes, then what's the point of the final exam? The point is simply that you will understand what you're doing. So I changed my whole philosophy on giving tests after that. So now I gave quizzes every other day, every other class that were cumulative. They're not a lot of questions, but each quiz builds off of the previous quiz. So you can't escape the knowledge, which I find a lot of students try to do. They try to memorize their way to grade. You guys, believe it or not, really, really good memorizers. Really, really good. I can list you 100 words, you'll memorize them all, spin them back, and then 2 days later I'll ask you what any of them mean. You won't understand anything. You guys are excellent memorizers. So obviously memorization will not be part of the testing procedure. So I tend to test on your ability to solve a problem. So I give you information, you try to internalize it, and I give you a problem, sort of like mathematics. I give you a problem that's a biology problem, you have to figure it out based on what you think you heard. And we go from there. And then the following week, you get another problem that's based on the previous problem and new information. And this just goes on, and for us, it'll only be 4 weeks, so we'll only have 4 quizzes together. There's no final, because I told you, I don't believe in final exams. I think it's ridiculous. What's important is that you continue to acquire new information based on old information, and you internalize it. So one of the other things I do, unlike I think other faculty, I actually don't want you to learn a lot. I want you to know very little, but I want you to know it really, really, really well. Extremely well. So you'll see we're going to go through a few things. We have about an hour or so. I'm going to teach you something. I want you to internalize it, and I'm going to test you for 100% knowledge, not 95. So some of my questions are all or none questions, because you know 9 parts of a gene out of the 10, you don't know what is the structure of a gene. You know 9/10 of it. And you think that may not be important, but I work in a laboratory. If a student knows 9/10 of a gene, they know nothing. They're no help. They'll make mistakes. Lots of mistakes. And that's useless. Because in fact, the purpose of you taking a class is not to regurgitate, although I think you think it's to get an A. It's not to get an A. The purpose of you taking a class is to capture information that has some purpose for you in your next class or in your next job. The purpose is not to get an A. I know a lot of A students who suck in the lab because they never internalize the information. They memorized the stuff, and then once it got to lab, they didn't know anything. So the goal here is, although I understand you guys want A's, I get it. I actually am not a big, I don't really like to give low grades, so it's not my goal is to get you to understand something. So we will work on this principle going forward. We'll see how we do. I do prefer the whiteboard. I'm gonna break down and use this overhead, which blinds the crap out of me. But I think I will try to use the whiteboard in a subsequent lecture once I can figure out how to get them to raise this, because it's not fair to just lecture on two little parts of the whiteboard. I tend to like to use the entire whiteboard. I think it's this mechanism also is passé, because there's not enough I can write on here for you to continue to see, because I think that's also part of learning. So part of learning, you're not there to memorize. You're there to learn. And so it's nice to see information on the board. And actually, I may write information on the board so it's there, so you can see it all the time. Because this is, I see with the rolling thing, okay, the information's gone, and I see people trying to take notes, and it's just gone, and they're like, oh crap, I missed that note, now I don't know what I'm doing. And then all they're doing is obsessing about, oh, I missed that note, instead of paying attention. So I really hate that. That's why I hate this mechanism. And the last thing, although I think since you guys are new to me, you guys are new to perhaps this style of teaching, I actually have a fundamental belief that notes are just facts. So when I was in college, I had physical chemistry, and the professor went on the whiteboard, or chalkboard, it was